Fifth magic. Aoko is a magician capable of utilizing magic blue, Meiho Ao, the fifth magic, Daigo Meiho, making her the only person in the current world capable of performing its miracles. It appears to have a connection with consumption and extinction. Its exact domain is uncertain, but it is able to perform time travel. Her usage of it is limited to localized individual time travel, but Tuko cannot believe time travel is the true nature of the fifth magic, since time travel was already possible with the second magic. While she is unsure if Aoko has arrived at the very depths of its nature, she is certain that it is not simply just a miracle. Aoko uses it to make herself into the completed Aoko Aozaki of 10 years later and revive Sujuru Shizuki. Time travel is also possible with the second magic because the revising of records and rewriting of events falls under the operation of parallel worlds. It makes no sense for such an ability to now be called the fifth magic, but Tuko decides further speculation is none of her business. Despite Tuko being a vastly superior magus, Aoko was chosen to inherit the magic instead of her. Though Tuko boasts one of the greatest magic circuits in the world, the fifth magic does not require such a thing, and it can be said that Aoko's simplicity is more suited to it. The secret of the fifth magic lies in advancing civilization, fitting how Alice represents medieval civilization and Aoko represents consumption civilization. It also holds the answer as to why she is called the newest magician. Ars Alma Salomonis is stated to have parts of and hints to the fifth magic to it. She is familiar with Zelrich and the second magic to some extent, as she is able to classify Nikoark existing in the world of melty blood as his doing. Activation. Hear me, Lord of all creation. I announce. In my name representing order, blue, I announce. Everything will be corrected. Not. Sane. Order has now fallen. 5 timeless words. In order to activate Magic Blue, she closes her eyes and connects to the root. She manipulates Sujuru's time, first the 5 minutes in which his death occurred and then borrowing 10 years of his time for herself. Recognizing the fifth magic as an event that should not occur by either human or the planet's hands, the counter-force attempts to stop her by attempting to crush her body, providing an immense amount of pain. The Red Shadow is outraged that Aoko would try to use the fifth without the necessary resolve or reason, but Aoko simply doesn't care about what may happen, even if her usage of the fifth would result in the extinction of mankind. She originally meant to take time from herself for the fifth, but upon stumbling on Sujuru's memories of the past, she was outraged and decided to take his time instead. Due to this, Sujuru's 10 years of memories belong to Aoko for the duration that the magic is active. She causes a blue tornado to swirl up, and begins her swindling of the world. Time turns back, shifting the landscape through a variety of seasons, as the primal scene is rewritten. The end result is a field of rippling white flowers that erode the world, and the fifth magic shows itself in that time and place only. The secluded Snowdin clearing is transformed into a sea of white flowers in an instant, and the previously cold wind becomes warm in the field. It is a spring field that is free of impurity and grief, where there was nothing, but also where nothing was needed, Sujuru's most precious memory. The scenery by itself does not show the true potential of the magic. Tuko acknowledges the change in scenery as somewhat impressive, but comments that what she wanted to see was not something so romantic, and that it is still child's play compared to Alice Kwanji's flat snark. It is a large-scale spell, but the surrounding mana is no different than it was beforehand. However, Tuko is then appalled after seeing the true effects of the magic, the revival of Sujuru and the acceleration of Aoko's time. Exchanging time. The main focus of her first activation is to revive Sujuru. Complete resurrection is something that cannot be done even with magic, and simply restoring his body through healing would not be enough to bring back a dead person. Without a way to bring him back directly, she tries to avert his death rather than restore his life. She avoids any large-scale manipulation, either from lack of ability or hesitation, and settles for an exchange between the two of them instead. He is returned to as he was before death, his body looking completely as it was before being sliced in half. She utilizes 2 miracles in manipulating his time, the first being that she rewinds the 5 minutes encompassing his death and moves them elsewhere. During this intervention of time, she borrows 10 years worth of his time to bring her future self. This act gives Aoko years of training and experience, and it effectively revives Sujuru by moving the time elsewhere. Having jumped in time for 5 minutes, he no longer exists on that time axis. Someone from the far future searching for him would be unable to find him there. Aoko takes 10 years of Sujuru's time to add to herself and enters Redshift, Sekio Henai, which colors her hair red. Individual time manipulation is easier when working with parts that were forgotten, so she borrows time during his childhood. She only shows a slight change in appearance, but Tuko understands after realizing that Aoko's gestures no longer match her age. The change inside her is great enough to warrant worry, but she does not have the time to analyze the situation before being overwhelmed by Aoko's newly obtained speed and power. Tuko realizes Aoko's expression, the stable running of her circuits, and even her breathing have changed completely. She comes to believe that time is being manipulated, as she could not have simply amplified her circuits to reach her strength. Even if Aoko were to attach external means of magical energy, only her total capacity and amount of usable spells would increase rather than her overall power. It would normally be impossible to change her talent as a magus or the purity of her magic circuits, but she is evidently greater than Tuko as a magus. Fast-forwarding her own time allowed her go from an apprentice to adept in an instant. She is an Aoko with 27 years of time, 17 of her own and 10 of Sujuru. She can make it so she does not exist within the time axis, using repeated instances of time travel by the second to avoid attacks completely. She either sends impacting attacks to a different time, or she wears thousands of herself over herself. It can avoid both numerous and powerful attacks. It has a high energy output that cannot continue for long, but she manages to easily outlast Tuko's prediction of her energy reserves. Despite having taken Sujuru's time, it does not affect him overtly. Their ages have not changed, so it is not his physical self she has manipulated. It is rather his internal time that has been taken, resulting in her seeing some of his memories during the activation. Despite being in familiar scenery within the White Flowers, it feels like the first time he has seen it, only feeling slightly strange to him. Aoko, on the other hand, will feel nostalgia from viewing the area. His memories are jumbled, but he can still recall recent events. He can recall questions asked during the darkness of his death, though he does not remember having died, due to having had some fragments left that intersected with Aoko's time. He will be unable to remember until she is done using the time and it is returned. Alice will be the only one able to remember the brief interval of the scenery due to the end of the exchange of time, leaving the few minutes lost from his and Aoko's memories. Utilizing another person as a medium means that it is not a change in only Aoko. Aoko traveling back in time by herself would allow for the contradictions to become her own experience, but the exchange is proper time travel that will leave the contradiction properly corrected. Aoko's nostalgia and Sujuru's unfamiliarity will be corrected at the end of the magic to be as if they had never existed. Burden. The fifth is not the operation of parallel worlds, so it does not rewrite the world itself. That means the time she exchanges must be handled uniquely if she wishes to make the changes permanent, such as in the case with resurrecting Sujuru. The 10 years borrowed from him will be returned, so a one-sided exchange like that will leave the total mass of time in the current time axis unchanged. Winding back only Sujuru's 5 minutes would normally mean that he would return to being a corpse after the magic expires, as time travel carried out without changing the world cannot change the past. She has to either truly resurrect him, or take those actually existing 5 minutes and place them somewhere far away. Time travel requires a massive quantity of energy, requiring mystic power to bring in things that don't exist in the current world, and likewise causing tremendous energy to be lost when something is made to be no longer here. Utilizing time travel to move even such a small amount of time would necessitate balancing out the heat that had been there beforehand. Aoko left it in the far, far future, meaning that the debt incurred in the present has been left in the future. Even the idea of a time paradox is more humane, as such an enormous, thoughtless consumption of heat must not be allowed. The idea horrifies Tuko, as does the idea of the energy used in cooling the exchanged heat. The state of either more or less heat threatens to cause the collapse of order. The distortion created by her magic will eventually affect the entire quadrant. Dumping an even greater debt on the death of the universe hundreds of billions years in the future onto the dead end awaiting humanity is like the equivalent of dropping an asteroid on the planet. While Tuko believes Aoko will crush the planet with her own weight, Aoko says she will worry about it when the time comes and send it to the past the next time, so only it will be crushed by the distortion. Tuko is still horrified at the idea, saying that only humans will be fine with it. The present is established, but it should not be acceptable to erase the past. The total mass, the debt of the universe, needs to be handled properly. It doesn't matter if the universe is closed or still expanding because the increase in the amount of consumed heat will become uncontrollable. The end of indefinite expansion, indefinite consumption, and indefinite growth is not a future full of hope. It will be the nothing before creation, and the universe will eventually suffer heat death. The fifth will only help make that end more definite, but Aoko says she will take responsibility and do what she can while she lives. She has yet to actually think of such a course. Dust of Osiris believes that Aoko's very existence poses a great threat to her ritual, and she says that Aoko should have nothing to do with it because she is a neutral observer that will not take actions to oppose the end of the world. Aoko supposedly only takes actions to correct certain errors.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.